Welcome to the new moon in Scorpio, November of 2023, with Cat and Mouse Astrology. This is Micki, and I'm going to walk us through the meaning of this new moon at 20 degrees of Scorpio, a powerful, powerful new beginning here. Let's take a look at the archetypal meaning of this new moon in Scorpio. It is conjunct Mars and opposite Uranus, a volatile mix. Can you draw on your experience of working with your subconscious, understanding your and other people's blind spots, shadow work? Jungian psychology called this shadow work. This can help us to deal with those things that come up. So this is a question for you. Can you take a look at your shadow? This is the time to get in touch with your higher self and think spiritually, because we have Neptune now in trine with this moon. So this can be our saving grace. We've got some nice trines and sextiles that can make this a little bit easier to deal with. But this can be a tough moon for a lot of people. Here is an interpretation, and there is always more than one interpretation in astrology. This, of course, depends on where the new moon falls in your particular chart, what house it falls in, and other aspects of your natal planets to this new moon. But in general, here's an interpretation that I'll throw out here. This comes from the introductory line from the radio adaptation of The Shadow, spoken by Frank Reddick. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts and minds of men? The shadow knows. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, well, this is an interpretation because Scorpio is a deep, shadowy sign. And the new moon can give us an opening to new things going on in our lives. But do we really know what we're moving towards? There's some action involved in this new moon because Mars, which is considered a malefic planet, maybe more or less malefic in your chart, depending on whether you were born in the daytime or at night, and again, how it's configured. But Mars is a malefic planet by traditional interpretation. It represents energy. It also represents war. It represents our motivation and how we accomplish things. It also represents how we may destroy things. So Mars is a touchy baby. It's a touchy thing to deal with archetypally. And having it front and center with this new moon is enough of a big deal. Having it opposite Uranus, this is an intense power struggle now between some energy that says we're going to go, and an opposition that Uranus may surprise us with. So this new moon in Scorpio is gunning for action, but it may get a surprise reaction because Mars is opposite Uranus. Look for relief where you have Pisces. This is where peace and understanding may be found. So this, again, is a good time for, inner work, meditation, prayer, long baths, walks in the woods. And when stuff comes up, it's also a good time to follow those practices of breathe deep, before you speak. Don't take action if you don't have to. Stop and pause and wait until you've had a chance to let emotions recede before you move forward with action and try to act from your heart and from your higher values. So we see that this is a big issue in our outer world, and we may see this in the news. It's also an issue in our inner lives, in our inner world. So again, find ways that you can do self-care at this time. Here's a picture of the moon, November of 2023. And again, you see we've got this powerful configuration within 2 degrees of the sun, the moon, and Mars, opposite Uranus, right in the middle. Uranus has a little oomph and power from Jupiter, who's right there also in Taurus. So there's a change going to come. You can't really prepare for something you're not aware of, but you can remain flexible and try not to be fixed in your thinking. We have some other things going on here, and I'll scroll down and look at them through our word interpretation. Then I'll come back to the chart. So we've got Venus in Libra. Yay! La la. Venus is at home in Libra. Venus is letting go of things that are no longer of value to her, to you, your Venus. There's some things Venus just doesn't want anymore. And that's represented by the South Node there in Libra with Venus at this time, Libra being ruled by Venus. Now, the sextile of Venus with Mercury is encouraging fruitful conversation, positive conversation, maybe even talk of love, talk of peace, talk of negotiation, because that's Libra in, Venus in Libra is the negotiator. She is the big negotiator. But we have to put some effort into these kinds of negotiations to see results because it's a sextile. So sextile means you got to work at it. Trines come easy. Sextiles, little effort involved. Mars is at home also in Scorpio. So both Mars and Venus are in their place of power. And Mars is adding fuel to the new moon's fire, right there conjunct with the sun and the moon. And with Uranus in the mix, beware of the potential for a negative reaction. So here we have some squares. You know, this is an interpretation of how this may impact us. We've got this receptive, reflective, emotional moon. You know, at full moons, hospitals fill up, police stations have more action. The moon at new moon is when we make our intentions, because it's the opposite typically of that peak of emotion. But right now we have a depth of emotion because it's in Scorpio. So this is deep. It's scorpionic. It's not always revealed. So here with the sun, there is a revelation because the sun is lighting up what's going on with the moon and with Mars in Scorpio. So with Uranus there, we might actually have a flash of lightning, the way that a flash of lightning lights up the sky for just a second. We may get a flash of what's going on here with the moon, the sun, and Mars in Scorpio, and this tug of war that's happening, maybe with our food, our money, and our basic human needs. And certainly this is happening around the world with many people right now. We also, at the same time, have Mercury square Lilith, Black Moon. And Black Moon represents things that we are not aware of in our lives, in ourselves. Again, our shadow. But Mercury is talking about it, and maybe not pleasantly. So those things, that shadow side of yourself, again, a reason to examine it is because other people are examining it. We just can't see it. So we have to take a harsh look sometimes. And maybe we can't do it in the mirror. Maybe we have to listen to others who can see beyond our shadow and let us know. The shadow hides both the repressed power as well as those things that we don't want to know about. There's good in the shadow too. I had an interesting epiphany about this moon as I was getting ready to record this. And it has to do with, I pulled up YouTube right as I was, the internet, and YouTube was on there right as I was getting ready to record this. And this song from Buffalo Springfield came up, and the words from it, battle lines being drawn, nobody's right if everybody's wrong. That really struck me. And it was so synchronistic. We're talking about Jungian psychology, depth psychology, the depths of Scorpio, those unknown things, the shadow side of Black Moon Lilith, repressed power, dark energy, inner truths. And these old words, these words from this old song, beware. This is a song about taking sides. It's a song also about protest, battle lines being drawn. Stop. What's that sound? I recommend going and listening to the song if you haven't, or if you haven't heard it in a while. For What It's Worth is the name of the song. But it seemed to be having the feeling that I'm getting from this moon was being communicated through this song. Something about the Mercury square Lilith, and something about the new moon here with Mars and opposite Uranus. What are we doing? Are we creating lines in the sand when we don't need to? And maybe we should find some peace and love right now before things get more out of hand. There are some trines, and they do involve peace and love. We've got Venus sextile Mercury. Let's talk about love and beauty. Let's talk about conciliation. Let's talk about accord. And we have Neptune trine this new moon. Neptune is not just the fog of imagination, but it's also the beauty and truth of our spiritual selves. Neptune is a higher octave. It takes us into another realm that is beyond boundaries. So with this beauty and imagination, we have an ability to get through these tough times and to offer ourselves and others some soothing for, some Martian and Uranian energy that could be pretty painful to deal with. So let's take a last quick look at our chart and see what we have. Again, we've got the new moon in Mars, opposite Uranus, with some power from Jupiter. We've got a lovely trine, if you will. It's a sextile between Pluto and Neptune. It's off, so I didn't talk about it in some detail, but there is some energy. We're getting some plutonic energy involved in this, something from the depths. And Neptune is at home in Pisces, just as we have Mars at home in Scorpio, and we have Venus at home in Libra. So these are planets at their most powerful. And Venus is in a lovely tight sextile here, within 1 degree of Mercury, trying to talk peace. And Neptune, again, is in a trine with this new moon, trying to get us to look at our spiritual higher selves so that we can find solutions in our lives and solutions in our world for hope and for joy in our futures. So I hope you have a joyful and wonderful future, and that you can offer soothing to others or find soothing for yourself here in these times when you might need it most. And I'm going to stop us there. Take care.